So I turned 47 this year in chronological years, yet I feel exactly the same as I did in my 30s. I feel exactly the same as I can remember as I did in my 20s. In fact, I am stronger now than I ever was. I'm more flexible. And every morning when I wake up, I actually feel like I'm on the threshold of a new beginning. I've never been more excited to live my life. Now, how did I get to this age without any major signs of decay or sore joints or slowing down? I credit the way I feel and my body responds to a handful of principles which I've instilled for a very long period of time, the majority of which cost you nothing. They're free, and you won't find them widely talked about within longevity circles or the culture at large because they don't involve taking a supplement, buying a course, or adhering to some particular protocol. I'd just like to caveat before I start that I am not on the don't die bandwagon. Death makes life. Without death, life would have no meaning. And I'm sure you felt that in the most sublime beauty that you've witnessed, there is a tinge of sadness. And that sadness comes from the knowing that it will pass, that that beauty will fade. That's precisely what gives life its beauty, its meaning. And unfortunately, we're in a death phobic, death illiterate culture in the West. And until a culture can fully embody death into life, then unfortunately that culture isn't really living. So as much as I would agree with helping people live healthier, longer, more generative lives, the outcome of doing so is not so you don't die. And I feel that that notion comes from an incoherence with life. It's very much completely founded in the intellect supporting the ego that is afraid of an end. But when you are in alignment with your biology, you're in alignment with your soul and your spirit, you will soon realize that there actually is no real end to the soul. And you can access that somatic experience through practices such as meditation. That's another video. I won't go into that here. I also would just like to flag foundation of an industry being founded on a negative, which is anti-aging. Life isn't anti-anything. Your life should be syntropic, ever regenerating. It is evolving and refining itself. And I feel that an industry based off being anti-aging is already based in fear, creating a state of stress within your awareness and thus stress in your body. I far more like to think about longevity and regeneration in terms of coherence. So as I mentioned, that's coherence with your biology, so coherence with the planet, with the earth from which we have come, from which our body is comprised and continually being remade. Coherence with our soul, which is housed within the body, which is the life force animating the body, and then coherence with spirit, which is aligned to a higher source. Whatever your belief is, there is a higher order to existence. Once you bring these three into alignment, I don't think we fully grasp what is the potential for our biology. You are the life force animating the body. It's not the other way around. So the technology then is within you. The technology to heal, the technology to regenerate is within you. No one can sell you anything that is going to do this for you. I am not here to sell you AG1 greens or another supplement. In fact, it is quite the opposite. If you are deficient in something, you need to understand why you are deficient in that thing. And more likely than not, it is a case of removing things as opposed to adding them. Refined, beautiful simplicity is a natural law. And when we complicate things, when we continually add things without addressing the underlying cause, we are only confusing things and making them worse. With that little preamble, I'm going to dive in to the 10 principles which I've instilled over many years into my life to pretty much what I feel to really rapidly slow the idea that most people have about what is traditional biological aging. Now, some of these I will delve into more detail in further videos. Some of them I'm sure you've heard of, so I'll cover those more quickly. Number one is the reason why this is number one. It is cellular communication. Now, I got this terminology off one of my mentors, Lou Corona. You can see here in this image, Lou is actually, I believe, either 73 or 74. And he has more energy than most 20-year-olds I know. He told me himself that every morning he feels like he's just beginning. In an age bracket where most people are rapidly winding down on multiple medications and usually talking about their next operation, Lou is a testament to what is possible when you are in coherence. You must know your cells are listening, not just to what you eat and what you drink, but what you think and what you believe. The first key to regeneration and being timeless is how you talk to your cells. I've experienced and believe that aging is more of a pattern that we inherit. We accept this unconditionally without question based off what the culture dictates at the time. By a certain age, we're told we should feel decline in the body, which follows this programming perfectly. And look, we all know people who hit a certain age and they will start saying to themselves and out loud, well, I'm so-and-so age, so I can't do this anymore. Well, I'm an old man, or I'm an old lady. I used to do that when I was young. All of these things are signaling to your body. You are affirming ostensibly what you don't want, and your body has no choice but to listen. And this is perfectly outlined in a famous study that was conducted all the way back in 1979, counterclockwise study by Ellen Langer. Now, she took a cohort of men in their 70s and early 80s and placed them in an environment which was 20 years prior, so 1959. The TV they watched, the music they listened to, the newspapers they read, they did all the things that they were doing 20 years earlier. Now, in as little as 1 week, when they remeasured their biomarkers for aging, they had all reversed. They had all reversed. Consider that. By them simply believing and embodying the feeling of themselves being younger, they reverse their biological age. Now, you can also use the example of the placebo effect, people taking sugar pills and their bodies healing themselves. The same principle. And it's amazing to me that it's not more widely known and not more widely preached, the power of your mind, the power of the biofield and consciousness to heal and regenerate the body when you believe it in every cell that it is happening. Now, this is not new to humanity. In ancient cultures and in Eastern cultures, there's been reports and documented reports of yogis living hundreds of years. Of course, this is dismissed by the mainstream centralized Western scientific model and medicine because it completely falls out their paradigm. They're never going to understand it because I believe they're looking in the wrong place. They're looking mechanistically at everything in a reductionist sense, as opposed to a wider field of consciousness which you can tap into. One of my favorite yogis who exemplified completely stopping the aging process is a gentleman called Tate Wali Baba. Now, in this footage here, Tate was in his 70s. He was in his 70s. Now, he does not look much over the age of 35. So what on earth does Tate know about the field of consciousness and his ability to modulate his body's response to linear time as we perceive it? There's also the work of famous Japanese water researcher, Dr. Emoto. With water, you may have heard of it. It's very well known. Look at these gorgeous images on your screen. Here is a visual representation of the power of words and intent on water. As you can see, words of affirmation and positive intent create gorgeous crystalline, geometric, flower of life style structures within the water. And the opposite is true for negative intent and lower vibrations of emotional states. Now, you might think, okay, that's just water, but consider that by far, molecularly, our bodies are made up of water. And our waters are anywhere from 50 to 70-ish% dependent on your age and health in the body. We are water beings. Imagine then what negativity and resentment are doing to the water in your body and thus your cells. There's many more experiments I can show you with intent, words, on lots of different organisms. But it's clear that you can see on people's faces how they think about themselves once enough time has elapsed. Ultimately, you become the predominant pattern that you express. You need to begin to pattern coherence into your body. a simple place to start is through affirmations. I like to say, thank you, I love you. Thank you, I love you. Thank you, I love you. You are timeless. As a practice of gratitude to my body and to this life. And I'm not saying, of course, we all have good days and bad days. We all have stressful days and not so stressful days. But I do try and catch my over negative thoughts when I'm having one of those days and replace it with some form of affirmation and gratitude so that I'm not living in that state and damaging my awareness and my connection to something more meaningful, and also destroying my body unnecessarily. Principle number 2, and look, I have watched countless hours of so-called longevity influencers, YouTubers. I've read so many longevity papers, all these biohackers, and I only know this because I used to be a little bit into it myself until I realized that there were much larger themes at play here. But number 2, it's water. It's water. Yet most people, when they're talking about longevity, will pay a bit of lip service to, oh, you need to clean your water. That's about it. Clean your water. That's their advice. Not bad advice, not bad advice, but they're missing the forest from the trees. We are water beings, as I mentioned. The majority of our bodies are comprised of water, and water isn't inert. It's alive. It carries memory, charge, and information. It's literally the conductor of your life force. Yet in modernity, we treat it like a dead, inert liquid. We pollute it. We pump it through right angles, destroying its structure. We dam it. We douse it with chemicals and call it drinking water. And then we expect people to be healthy. Yet a very true representation of how people feel about themselves is how they treat the natural world and how they treat water. It's pretty obvious why so many people are sick when we thoroughly abuse these gifts that enable us to live, and we treat them like they are nothing but a utility. Water is sacred. Ancient traditions knew this. Even in the Bible, water pre-existed the creation of the planet. Now, this is very, very interesting because scientists believe that the majority of water on this planet came from asteroids. That is literally to say that water is an extraterrestrial. Now, if you sat in contemplation by a river, a stream, a pond, the ocean, and just watched the light of the sun dance on the water's edge, glistening to the heavens, really watched it without thought, you would have got the sense of, I have no idea what this is. What is this incredible substance? It's that reverence that we need to have. The animating life force, I can't say it enough, in our bodies, it's that reverence that we need to have, again, for water. Now, practically with water, from, let's get a bit mechanistic, I've tried so many different protocols of water. I've done reverse osmosis, done all kinds of filters. I have done spring water, many structuring devices. I've pretty much tried every structuring device, some good, some not so good, to what I've landed on now. And this is the only point in this entire video will I mention a device that you can buy. I'm not affiliated with this company. I get no kickbacks from this company. I'm only recommending it because I've used it and I've had transformational results. I have to thank Greg, the hydrogen man, for putting me onto this, but it is medical grade hydrogen. Medical grade, that is a key term here. I'm not talking about some crappy bottle of Temu or Amazon or Alibaba, none of those. They don't create medical grade hydrogen water. They have plated metals which leach heavy metals into your water, so it's actually bad for you. The same is true for the hydrogen tablets. I'm not impervious. I have tried these myself. Until I saw the independent lab tests on them, they are also full of heavy metals you should not be consuming, and they do not create the right form of hydrogen. So, where does that leave you? It leaves you with a very expensive machine. But you'll see why when you purchase it, why it is so expensive, because it creates medical grade hydrogen, water, and gas. It uses no plated materials. It is incredible. It's used in many of the studies in Japan, and it's so well studied in Japan, hydrogen therapy. It cures all forms of ailments. It's used in hospitals over there. I'll leave some links in the description. The machine I use is called the Lord's Hydrofix. It's by a company called Holy Hydrogen. Again, I get no kickbacks from them. I'm only saying what I use. No, it's not cheap, but I'm assuming if you're watching a video on longevity, you might be somewhat above the baseline of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Maybe consider not going on that holiday and instead purchase an investment in your long-term health. I'll do a whole video on water. Lastly, how I clean my water is with a carbon distiller. Unfortunately, even in Australia, the spring water, most spring water has chemicals in it and microplastics. It's incredible. Sad state of affairs. I really don't know how that's going to be explained away to future generations, that we polluted the very source of life itself, how we allowed such things to happen in our time. Hopefully that is changing. Third principle is what all of us do unconsciously, yet we can bring awareness to it to radically change our biology, and that is breath. Breath is the link between the body and the invisible world. It's more than oxygen, it's life force itself, the same current that animates all beings. In yogic science, it's called prana, Chinese medicine qi, and Latin spiritus, meaning both breath and spirit. Yet sadly, in the modern world, most of us breathe shallowly into our chest, which is telling our bodies, signaling to our autonomic nervous system that we need to be in a state of fight and flight. Shallow breathing is what you do when you're in a stressed state. Now, there's been many studies to show that when we're staring at screens, we breathe in a shallow manner. And considering the majority of us are always staring at screens, the majority of us are always breathing in a shallow manner. Now, we need to relearn how to breathe as we did when we were babies, which is deep diaphragmatic breath. That is not yogic breath into your tummy, but deep into your ribs, into your lower ribs, into your side ribs, into your back, and then up into your chest. Lastly, you can even breathe out through the top of your head. Simple box breathing, such as 4 seconds in, say a 2-second hold, and 4 to 6 seconds out. One of those will completely transform your state, telling your body to slow down and that it's safe to stop producing cortisol. It costs you nothing. It just takes some awareness. A small hack that I have done for many years is taping my mouth, not out of any sort of kinky shit. No, it's not kinky. It's just to ensure that I breathe through my nose when I'm asleep. So if you wake up with any form of dry mouth, that's a sure indication that you're breathing through your mouth at night. Simply taping your mouth with a non-toxic paper tape will radically transform how you feel in the morning. It will be night and day if you entrain your body to strictly breathe through your nose. It also, side note, changes your facial structure, fascinatingly. All traditions have known about the breath. Breath mastery is energy mastery. It oxygenates your cells, thus keeping your body, again, in coherence. Number 4, yo. Now, this is going to trigger some people. Everyone is incredibly addicted to the way they eat, often to their bad habits, to their cultural milieu. It can be an ideology and even identity for many people. But your body is made up of also what you eat, obviously. And consider too that it's a biological fact that we are beings of light. We are biophotonic beings. Light animates every cell. So that is the way I like to think about food, is I want to put light into my body. So for me, how do I do that? I'm a raw foodist. I eat living foods. Now, if you've never heard that before, this is really going to trigger some people. What is that? That is basically, or no, it is not basically anything. It's raw vegan. I'm a goddamn raw vegan. Some of you just hit like bang, gone. See you, mate. Look, what is that? That's eating fruits, vegetables, sprouts, nuts, seeds in an uncooked state. This is because the food then is much higher in enzyme activity, which fills your body with electricity. Again, light and electricity. Also, I can go into the whole karmic reasons of it as well. It is by far the best for keeping your intestines clean, which is also key for your body to regenerate. And yes, it's not for everyone. It takes a lot of discipline and commitment to live this way, particularly initially. It comes easier after that. Actually, it becomes a joy. But you're going against the majority of people on the planet. And even though this is not a new way of living, it pre-exists dynastic Egypt, actually, the sects of people who were living this way for a long time. So it's not some new diet, or however you'd like to think about it. It's a natural way of being. Now, I can see it. I can totally get it. I used to think it was extreme. It took me, I think it was 20 years plant-based before I completely went raw. It always just seemed like ridiculous at some points. Like, how do people eat like this? It was too restrictive, but now it's become completely expansive. It's like a whole new territory of what is possible for food, and health opens up. And I just have never had more energy and more clarity and more connection. And I really attribute this a lot to going raw food. Now, let me give you a quick overview of to my thinking, and this is the way I approach many topics. Obviously, I have a value set about not harming things on this planet. I very much feel that my responsibility is to be a custodian of the planet and not an exploiter. So I've always had that feeling of doing my best, and I'm not perfect, but doing my best to ensure that I preserve life as opposed to take life. There's a study for everything these days, particularly when you get into the diet wars. My God, there's even dissent within the raw vegan community of people arguing over the best way to be raw. It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. There's also a study that will support any bad habit that you have. And often when you find foods which are clearly deleterious for you, yet they find positive findings, just look at the industries who's funding these studies. That's the thing. You think a studies are, unbiased? I mean, if you're giving someone money to find positive results, more likely than not, they'll find something positive. So I'm not so interested in that side of it, though I'm not attacking science. I just think of it this way, maybe this will click for you. But if you had money to invest and you had two friends, one of them was continually broke, always stressed about paying bills. If they ever had any money, they spent it immediately, consistently in debt. Or you had another friend who was worth multi millions of dollars, embodied the principles of wealth, always was making more money, seemed to have a good relationship with money, and did so effortlessly. They embodied wealth. Who would you ask about investment from? Exactly. Exactly. So I did the same thing when I decided to go raw food. I looked for mentors. I looked for people who were decades older than me, who lived this way for a long time. And I simply followed what they did, iterated it, and made it my own. But I want to show you what's possible when you live this way in coherence. And I don't think these people look young for their age. I actually just think they look how you can look when body operates efficiently. Lou Corona, as I mentioned earlier, I believe he is 73. Marcus Rotherance is 63. He has an amazing channel, All Things Health. I'll drop that in the description. Chef Babette, legend, 72. Shane Sterling, I believe, is 52. Karen Calbrizi is in her mid-70s. And here's one. I thought I'd drop this in there because he is a raw foodist. But Lenny Kravitz, I believe, is 63. 62 or 63. Unbelievable. What is most hypnotic, I find, about all these people and what they have in common is their zest for life. They're not on a slow decline toward death. They're all passionate and excited to be living each day and still in a state of supreme health, not on multiple medications, not seeing their doctor every 3 months for some issue that is lifestyle related. They are still full of energy. Some of them probably should stop recording music, but that's okay. Whatever your taste. Just think of it this way. As I mentioned, like, we're biophotonic beings, we're beings of light. I want to put light into my body. I certainly don't want to put death and stress into my body. I want to put the light of the fruits into my body. And yes, before someone writes in the comments, yeah, well, plants feel, plants are conscious. I know, I completely agree. I think everything is actually conscious. It's just on a different dimension of consciousness, or we're on a different dimension of consciousness where we can't perceive it. And I personally try and only eat foods which are able to continually regenerate. I don't eat foods that are a one-off. Number 5, you've all heard it. I'm not going to spend a hell of a lot of time here, but it's fasting. You need to give every biological system time to regenerate and repair itself. Now, in the human body, it's known as the process of autophagy, which during a fast can kick in anywhere between 16 to, I believe, 24 hours, depending on your metabolic health. That is the process of where old cells are regenerated and upspun into new cells. There's also huge benefits of doing longer fasts to remove what are known as senescent cells. They are cells which have stopped dividing. When they become too many, they damage healthy cells. So the process of removing senescent cells is called apoptosis. Generally kicks in, I believe, anywhere from 36 to 48 hours, again, depending on your metabolic health. That's why longer fasts can literally regenerate your body. You're literally regrowing stem cells. And what's best is it's free. It's better than free because you save money by not eating. Now, my protocol is that I eat within a 3 to 4 hour window every day. I eat in the morning from 8 or 8:30 till 11:30 to 12 in the afternoon. Pretty much most days. It's fairly advanced. I haven't just woken up and started doing it. It's taken me some time to do this where it's completely comfortable for my body. In fact, eating later than that usually throws me out. I still get plenty of calories. I just find eating in the morning, eating in that size window means the rest of the day I feel really energetic and clean. And by the time I sleep, my body is not using any extra energy to digest food. It's just repairing. I also, one day a week, I do like a 24-hour fast. And a couple of times a year, I do more extended fasts. And yes, I have a life. I prioritize if I'm away or I'm with friends, I will go out to dinner, uh, early dinner, but I'm not, nothing I try and do is too rigid. It's more of an overarching, as I said, principles. And as long as I'm hitting it 90% of the time, it is all good, except there's some inflexible ones in there, such as, being a vegan. But I will go out. I don't have a lot of friends, and the ones I have, I just accept the fact that I'm annoying and weird. It's fine. You need friends like that. We're all annoying and weird. Just some of us are have woken up to that fact. Number 6, inescapable. 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 You have to move. You have to move. You have a body. You are in a body. Now, I hear people say, I feel depressed, I'm sad, I have low energy. And the simple question is, well, instead of going to a doctor and then medicating you, crazy, have you exercised? Have you done anything hard? Have you moved your body? Have you gotten out of body by putting yourself in a strenuous situation? Because if you haven't, it's little wonder that you're not feeling good. I would feel terrible if I didn't exercise. I would be damn borderline suicidal. 100%. You have to move. And from a mechanistic point of view, there's something called sarcopenia, which you want to avoid at all costs. This is when you do not do any weight resistance or weight bearing exercise. You will lose, past the age of 30, almost 1% of your muscle mass each year, to the point of when you hit your 70s, you can lose up to 50% of your muscle mass. That is aging. That is you becoming frail and fragile, and you fall, and it's pretty much game over because your bones will be brittle, probably also because you haven't been eating correctly. You've got no muscle to protect you, and it's a very rapid slope to the mortuary. Sarcopenia you want to avoid at all costs. Now, the incredibly beautiful thing about the human body that we know, this intelligent, amazing design, is that by as little as 2 sessions a week for half an hour, I think it's even less, but you can completely avoid sarcopenia. By doing that, you reduce this rate at which you lose muscle down to almost zero. So you can be supposedly a granddad or a grandmum and be like jacked. You can be your jacked grandfather. Sounds a bit creepy when it's like that, but you can. Hey, you don't even need to be a grandfather. You can just be a jacked person who is like of some chronological age group that no one actually realizes, and not shuffling around talking about your hemorrhoids. That sounds a bit judgmental. It's all right. I'm sorry for anyone who's currently experiencing hemorrhoids. Um, I'm not an expert in hemorrhoids. Don't have any fix for you. What I do personally is weighted calisthenics. I've done calisthenics for a long time now. I don't even belong to a gym. I'm going to throw up a gratuitous topless shot. So that's me a few months ago before I grew out the mop on my head at 47 years of age. As I mentioned at the top of this, I've never felt stronger. And I've actually never aesthetically looked this good. My experience through consistency and belief is that my body just actually keeps getting better as I get older. I don't know if this is always going to be the case, but it's working out okay at the moment. Another thing I do along with weight resistance exercises, we're understanding more and more of the importance of the fascia. I'm sure the yogic scientists have known about this for a very long time, but the fascia, which encases all of our muscles, passes information and electric current throughout the body. It's absolutely vital for the piezoelectric energy to move. So I just do rolling about 10 minutes every day before bed. It's incredible. I had a really great conversation with Lauren Roxburgh on this. I do her courses. I'll put a link for that episode in the description below. Number 7, I've mentioned that we are beings of light. We are beings of light. Everything in us operates in a code of light. This is why you need the sun. The sun has been demonized. We spend more time than ever indoors, and skin cancer rates are still going up. So that's pretty interesting, isn't it? Maybe far more complex than the life giver, Ra, the sun, than just saying that the sun is bad for you. No, the sun is not bad for you. We need the sun. It regulates all forms of processes within your body and creates many, many hormones. As quantum biology is continually showing us, as ancient cultures have always known, you need the sun. For one, it literally resets your body clock. Particularly, you need to get the morning sun. It sets your circadian rhythm. Your good sleep begins in the morning. That's when the process of good sleep begins. Nothing relates better to good sleep than getting that first sunlight. Also, you would have heard of melatonin. It's not just a sleep hormone. It's possibly one of our most powerful antioxidants that we have. It repairs every cell in your body. You need the sun to create proper melatonin. Vitamin D, obviously. A lot of the research I've read, we don't want to be supplementing unless absolutely necessary with either melatonin or vitamin D. It's signaling to your body to downregulate your natural production, not to mention it's synthetic. You need to understand why you're deficient in these two things to begin with. Now, I am not advocating, please use your common sense. I'm not advocating if you have fair skin and you live in a country like I do where it's very hot to go and lie out in midday sun. That's not what I'm saying. No. Clearly not. You need to build up your sun exposure intelligently based off the amount of melanin in your skin and build up as you would with weight resistant training. So you do a short period in the morning, you do a very short period in the middle of the day and a short period later on in the evening, and you keep building up over a long period of time. For example, it's taking me 2 years now to build up to where I'm pretty much fine in the sun most of the time. That said, I won't spend, more than 45 minutes in summer sun before I put on a hat and a shirt or something or seek shade, because I don't want to get burnt. I'm not saying burning damages. Yep, burning definitely damages your skin. You don't want to get burnt, but you need to get the full spectrum of UV. We spend far too much time indoors. Sun is a nutrient. And also, if you want to take spiritual traditions, it carries information. We need the sun. And if you think that sun will damage your skin, yes, if you're getting burnt, but no, if you're using it intelligently. There's that famous image that many dermatologists and skincare companies like to roll out as if it's convincing evidence of how bad the sun is. It's a gentleman with one side of his face is exposed to the sun, working in a ticket booth, I believe, on a highway, and his other side of his face wasn't exposed to the sun. The side exposed to the sun was wrinkly and old, and the other side was somewhat okay. It's so much more nuanced than that. Glass blocks many of the important wavelengths of UV that are required within the full spectrum of UV for sun to become a nutrient. And when you split them apart is when you make them dangerous. So it's a far bigger picture. Side topic, but skin health is not just some vain metric. Skin health is a reflection of internal health. When you have wrinkles on your skin, that's the last manifestation of your proteins cross-linking and your collagen breaking down, and then your skin will reflect that. But there's something going on internally that needs to be addressed. Again, I just need to say this because common sense is not that common. Unfortunately, I'm not saying get burnt. I'm saying interact with the sun intelligently, but definitely, you need the sun. Number eight. Of course, you do it. You spend probably a quarter of your life doing it. It's sleep. You all know about sleep. Do I really need to tell you? I like to think of what I do before sleep. I have a sleep ritual, which is signaling to my body that it's time to settle down and we're getting ready to drift off into la la land. I do lucid dream notations, so I'll mention that maybe at some other point. So I really love sleeping because I get excited. It's like watching a film. Sometimes it's a really bad film. Sometimes it's all right. Sometimes it's just fucking weird. And you're dreaming of people that you really don't necessarily want to dream of. Bloody subconscious. But I have a whole routine. And look, I can tell you, I was an insomniac for a lot of years. In my sort of late 20s to early 30s, I had terrible sleep patterns. I think I was still drinking a bit. I was going to bed at all different times. I was probably watching screens before I went to bed. I had no ritual around it. I had no respect for it, actually. And I thought, look, I just thought I'm a night owl. I get up. I always feel bad in the morning. I get up late in the morning, and I have to go to bed late because that's when because I'm a creative genius. That's what all the geniuses do. Nah, nah, bollocks, bollocks. I have completely reset my circadian rhythm. I get up super early now to do all kinds of hippie things. Uh, I I go to bed early. I get about 7 or 8 hours. I try and get eight, and I sleep for the most part like an absolute baby because I respect sleep. I honor sleep. I thought I'd just mention this quickly. I do affirmations before I fall asleep. I ask my body if it can heal and regenerate every cell in our body. I also let it know that it is untouched by time and free to express itself how it would wish to. Number nine, oh, no, another thing I had a huge amount of resistance to, and now it's one of my favorite things ever, and that is meditation. Why is meditation important? You probably heard so many times about it, lessening stress, and you can meditate for 10 minutes a day and become a CEO of an oil company. Do what you want, but I think yeah, I think the premise of meditation is an interest into who you are and into life. That's the overarching premise. What is consciousness and what is true within consciousness, as in, who am I within consciousness? Or am I all of consciousness? Somewhat insurmountable questions to put into words. I don't have answers to that. I will say it very much relates to number one, to principle number one of cellular communication. It helps you become aware of to what are downloaded patterns and negative thought loops for the most part that you've adopted from your culture, parents, whatever, past lives maybe, to pass that and find out what is useful to you, because some of them are useful, and what is unuseful to you, and allow what are more generative and true ways of being come to the surface. So it just teaches you not to attach to your thoughts all the time. You don't need to attach to all your thoughts. Thoughts are not you. So if you're having a terrible day and you're thinking bad things about yourself or other people, you don't need to attach to those thoughts. Begin to delve into this further and further. Stress naturally dissipates. You just have a lot more buffer between what happens externally and what happens internally to respond rather than react. It just gives you enough time to not take everything personally, because for the majority of the time, things aren't personal. It also helps you touch upon and understand timelessness. That time as we perceive it is made up. We've made up years and clocks and all kinds of things. So when you experience the sense of timelessness, what do you think is happening there? You're timeless. Your body is not decaying. The same is true also for flow states. That's why it's important to find things that you love to do for slowing down aging, because being in a flow state, a state of timelessness, it's why doing things that go against your soul, like dragging yourself to a job, let's call it, that you really don't like and you have options, perceived or not perceived, that's going to take a heavy toll on your biology for sure. I'll touch upon this very quickly, but I'm not about saying that you need to find the perfect career and the perfect passion in your life's mission. I think that can create a lot of stress for people as well, because they feel, oh, I haven't found my perfect job or my profession or my career or my mission in life. I far more look at it now as you can put love, passion, and transformation into what is perceived as the most mundane of tasks with your awareness. You can do anything with love, anything with your full attention and in service. I also believe that when you do that, when you take that approach to life, the things that you're actually looking for, like the connection, the meaning, the job that you really love, the mission, if you so call it, will naturally emerge from a state of being very present in your life. Enough with the philosophy, mate. I just want to look good for a long time. Get me onto that. Okay, this is one for the men, but I don't hear this talked about outside of the community who practice it in the longevity sphere so much. And it's seminal retention. Seriously, Google that shit. I'm not going to tell you what it is if you don't know. Your seed contains life force. It literally creates life. And most men, most boys are spilling it out everywhere. Everywhere. For cheap thrills, for a cheap dopamine hit, because they don't have larger meaning in their life, or they feel anxious, or they just don't know what they should do with their time. and they're just spilling this life force out. It lowers yourself psychically, karmically, not to mention mechanistically, your testosterone. It completely screws up your dopamine levels, so you have no enthusiasm or drive to do other things in your life. The same goes for when you lower your testosterone by doing this. It's terrible. It's really terrible. And sadly, we live in a pornified might work, culture, over glorification of, and reduction of what is a divine act to just something you do for fun or unconsciously. And I'm not saying I am like this perfect vessel that has never done that. I've been once in that consciousness and I only did myself harm. Love making sex, it's a creative act. It's a life force creating act. And it should be undertaken with someone who you have a connection with, because it brings you into higher dimensions within yourself, with you and this other person, and to the divine. And sadly, we're in the culture a long way away from realizing that. But I can tell you as a man, when you retain your seed, all that creative energy and life force, not only does it go into your like regenerating your body, which it does. Like I've noticed ridiculous differences in my skin and my hair. And I've been doing this now. I've done it for years, but I've been doing it for a long period of time now, for about almost 10 months. But so it regenerates your body, like provably regenerates your body, like palpably improves your body. But it gives you so much more energy. All that creative life force energy you can transmute and redistribute into your being and put into the things that you love. It's so powerful. And yes, if you're going to Google this and you look and you find articles by Western science communities or medical communities, and they're saying that, we can't find the mechanism, saying that it doesn't work because they can't find the mechanism. I mean, are you serious? You're not going to find the mechanism for life force. You're not going to find the mechanism for the biofield. You're not going to find the mechanism for consciousness. Like, please explain to me where the mechanism for love is. Oh, Lord, great overlord of, let's call it bastardized reductionist science, not purist science, which is just inquisitiveness toward the natural world. That's beautiful. But the reductionist science that we mostly get in the mainstream, you're not going to find the mechanism for love. Yet our whole lives are predicated by love. Just about everything we do, you could argue that everything we do is to receive or to give love. No mechanism for love, though. It's the same is true for seminal retention. Yet in Eastern cultures, such as Taoism, where it was known as Jing, and in Indian culture, where it was known as ojas, practiced by brahmacharians, where it was used as a process of enlightenment. And they had detailed systems for how you practice this to gain higher states of awareness. And they also knew very well that it preserved the body, because it is literally life force. You're not draining it, then having your body to regenerate it. You're not allowing your consciousness to be in a constant state of lust, because you can't control yourself. This is about also self-mastery. All these principles are about self-mastery in some way or another. And it just so happens that becoming coherent and a master of your own ship helps you live the life that you want to live in a state of youthfulness. Seriously, what do you want? What do you want? Do you want to be endlessly a victim of your desires, or do you want to begin to channel that incredible force into creating the life that you want and ultimately helping everybody in the process? Thank you for watching this far. I'll just finish with, I don't believe longevity and looking after yourself is a vanity. Yes, we all like to look good. I think anyone denying that is lying. But this is so much to me about love and respect. It's respect for this life, for this gift that we have been given and the bodies that we've been given to express our life force. It is a respect for that. And it is a love for life and an endless inquisitiveness to what comes next and how I can participate in this grand tapestry, that we are all here to add our little piece too. But when I see people who are unhealthy or overweight, I see people who are lacking connection to themselves. I see people who are bereft of love for themselves, respect and love for themselves. And that's actually incredibly sad when you reflect on it, that so many people are walking around without love in their hearts for the most important person in their life, which is themselves. And what I hope that principles like this can do is begin to cultivate that love, which is really what it is. It's that inner love, that inner fire. And once that is alight, anything is possible for you. I'll finish with, again, what I started with. You are the technology. You are the life force that animates the body. So when the life force is strong, the body has no option but to express that strength, express that regeneration, and express that joy for life. I hope I helped illuminate some things that you may have not thought of. If you found anything in this video to be of help, please like, subscribe, share with somebody else. It helps other people find this information. Thanks for listening, and I will see you soon.